Welcome to Bonus XP, the show after the show, where we talk one more thought related to our main show on XP Media, XP Gaming. This show is where MTB and I talk general gaming and industry news. In this episode, I want to discuss heirloom gear and one more thought of why in World of Warcraft retail, I think heirloom gear really hurt the game. But first, smash that like button, click subscribe, and to stay up to date with our new content, which is coming out all the time. Heirloom gear. I think in general it really ruined most of the interesting parts about leveling in World of Warcraft. Basically, it took gear progression as a part of the game completely out, and when that happened, you really lost all emotional investment into your character as you leveled. If you can just put on one piece of gear and then go 120 levels without changing it, you really remove any need to even understand what kind of stats that your character actually can have any meaningful progression from. And also, you really have no investment into how your character looks. Even though there's transmog in the game, which will be another topic we can talk a different day. But let me give you a couple examples of why I think heirloom gear really missed the mark of what they were trying to do. First, when you start off as a brand new character in World of Warcraft, you have a couple different options. You can use the gray gear that you get directly from vendors, or that you pick up from mobs that you kill in low level zones. Now this gear is not very powerful, but the point of it is to get your character going so that you have something in those slots to give you a little bit of power progression as you start to level. Now, with that in mind, every now and then, one of those gray pieces of gear can randomly drop and turn into a green piece of gear or even a blue piece of gear. And when that happens, when you see that first piece of blue or green gear that drops from killing a boar in Mulgore or something along those lines, you really have a really awesome experience. It's the experience in an MMO where RNG has given you something that is really going to make your character that much more powerful, and it ties you to the game because you get really excited and you start to realize, wait a minute, the time that I'm investing into my character actually means something. Now, when you put on heirloom gear, you start off level 1, you go into your heirloom tab in retail WoW, and you pull down all the different armor slot types full of heirloom gear. This gear scales with your character, so what is going to happen is you're going to level constantly. And every time you level, it automatically levels up to the next power level. You have no investment in it. You have no need to talk to a trainer, no need to talk to anybody in a capital city. You have no screens to click on to try to interact with the gear. It just happens automatically. And you basically, it means nothing. And it takes the complete gear journey out of the game. I think this is a really big mistake that was made in the gear progression system in WoW. I know why they did it, and I can talk a little bit about that. The why and the reason why they did this in the first place is because there's a lot of levels in WoW. If there's 120 levels in WoW, that's a lot of different gear to care for and to race to the end game to get where most of their development efforts are going. So they just tried to make leveling kind of irrelevant because it's turned into a long grind. But I think that in that, they really made a mistake, because you can race all the way to endgame and you can end up now. There's WoW players that end up literally not having any clue how to gear their characters. They don't know what the stats mean. They don't know what any of the different armor types, like the different kinds of things that you can do with them. They just have these pieces of heirloom gear in there and then they're good to go. And I think that's a really big miss in World of Warcraft retail right now. That classic WoW is really getting correct, because, well, in Classic, heirloom gear didn't exist. And so I think that as Classic WoW matures and kind of goes through the different phase releases and more people play it, the gear debate is going to come back to Blizzard. And this is an opportunity for Blizzard to make some meaningful change to gear progression to get a whole bunch of players that have become uninterested in the current gear progression system back into the retail game. And I think we're really going to see that happen. So that's my thought for today. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. The links will be down in the description. And until next time, have fun and play your game.